ever looked at something broken, rusted, or thrown away, and wondered, what if this could be beautiful again? This video isn't about buying more things. It's about seeing with new eyes, about turning trash into timeless garden treasures. Welcome to Verdant Dreams, a space where discarded things find new purpose. Today, we'll explore a series of DIY trash garden ideas you've never seen before. Timestamps are included. Feel free to skip ahead. And if something sparks your imagination, leave a comment. I read every one. If you find value in this, don't just watch, build it. Make it yours. Start with what you already have. And if you're new here, maybe I'm just another face on a screen. But this isn't just content. It's a small dream in motion. Every like, every share, every subscribe keeps this dream alive, not just for me, but for my family. Thank you for watching. Thank you for seeing the story behind the screen. In the hush of a crisp autumn morning, where the mist gently lifts from garden petals and the soft rustle of marigolds greets the day, something whimsical begins to catch the eye. A humble fence, once plain and overlooked, now sings with a kaleidoscope of color. But not from new paint or expensive timber. Instead, it's from a symphony of old bottles reborn. Once destined for the landfill, these bottles now glisten like crystal flowers under the gentle kiss of sunlight. Painted by hand, some in sky blue, others in rose blush or emerald green, they bloom from weathered wood like a surreal bouquet sculpted from forgotten glass. At the heart of each bloom, a golden cap or solar light flickers subtly, casting twilight magic when the day gives way to stars. This is not just a fence. It's a quiet rebellion against waste. It's where junk becomes joy. Nestled between clusters of yellow chrysanthemums and soft purple asters, the bottle blossoms add a playful rhythm to the garden border. They draw the gaze, delighting visitors and birds alike. Children run their fingers across the cool glass petals, adults pause their tea to admire the artistry, and neighbors lean closer for a second glance, wondering how trash could ever be this charming. Each section of the fence becomes a gallery, a story of transformation, of second chances. And it whispers a gentle message, even in the smallest yards, even with the simplest things, beauty can bloom. This bottle blossom fence decor is more than garden art. It's a celebration of creativity, of fall's colors mirrored in glass, and of the joy found in breathing life into the unloved. Here, every glance becomes an invitation to dream in color. tucked in a forgotten corner of the garden, where the shadows of pergolas stretch long and the breeze hums softly through blooming sedum, lies a quiet surprise, a pond. But not carved from stone or poured with concrete. No, this little oasis was born from something far humbler, an old tire. Once blackened with wear and destined for the scrapyard, the tire now radiates with soft rustic charm, painted in sage green, softened with blush terracotta, and lovingly repurposed. Lined and layered, it cradles a shallow pool of water where marigold petals float lazily and dragonflies hover like sentinels. Around it, chrysanthemums burst into bloom, warm yellows, deep russets, and gentle whites. Japanese anemones nod on slender stems, catching every breeze like dancers in slow motion. The scent is earthy, floral, and alive. This rustic tire pond doesn't shout for attention. It whispers of peace. It offers a moment of stillness. In tiny gardens where space is a treasure, it becomes a centerpiece, part reflection, part storybook dream. Visitors lean in closer, surprised. "Is that a tire?" they ask, their voices trailing into awe. Children drop stones in its calm surface and giggle at the ripples. Bees linger on the surrounding flowers, and butterflies pause at the edges, sipping from fallen petals. What was once discarded now brims with life, a perfect harmony of water, color, and reclaimed grace. No longer rubber and waste, but sanctuary and wonder. This is the spirit of cottage garden magic, where trash becomes treasure, and even the smallest backyard can hold a secret pool of calm beneath the marigold sun. In a world where elegance is often bought, there stands a structure in the garden that whispers of grit and grace, a pergola not born from lumber yards, but from old machines that once roared. This trellis, bold, unapologetic, is sculpted from motorcycle frames. Welded, realigned, reborn. Where once there were wheels and pistons, now stand the upright bones of a garden sanctuary, painted deep forest green and matte black, catching the autumn light like steel poetry. Beneath its shadow, the garden breathes. Vines of marigold twist upward, their golden faces turning toward the fading sun. Japanese anemones drape like garlands, their soft petals a gentle contrast to the hard edge of repurposed metal. And still, the pergola stands, proud, not of what it once was, but of what it has become. Neighbors ask, "Is that really made from a motorbike?" And when told yes, they smile with wonder. It is an ode to reinvention, a monument to imagination in the tiniest of backyards. The pergola transforms the space, once an overlooked corner of a small garden, now a leafy passageway leading to magic. The air beneath is cooler, tinged with scent and shadow. Bees hum overhead, drawn to the flowers. Visitors pause to take photos, inspired by this collision of industry and nature. Here, Trash doesn't pretend to be what it's not. It wears its past like a badge, but speaks the language of flowers now. The garden welcomes it, embraces it, turns it into art. This is more than structure. It is story. A reminder that beauty doesn't always begin new, sometimes it begins again. As the golden haze of late afternoon settles across the garden, light begins to dance, not from lanterns or grand fixtures, but from the humble necks of colored bottles. Along the edge of the flower bed, where soil meets soul, a soft glow pulses gently, like fireflies frozen in glass. This is the magic of bamboo and bottle garden edging. Each stake of bamboo, split and sanded, carries the calm of the forest. Beside it, a bottle once tossed away now stands proud, reborn. Painted in whispers of mint, lilac, and coral, each bottle is more than decoration. It is a vessel of light. Solar tips tucked within gather the sun's energy by day, then return it at dusk in tiny lantern-like radiance. Together, bamboo and bottle form a rhythm, a line, a boundary that doesn't separate, but guides. It traces the path of flower beds rich with marigolds, Japanese anemones, and asters, all in bloom, their colors mirrored in the glowing glass. In small gardens where space is sacred, this edging becomes not just function, but poetry. It frames the living tapestry with intention, turning even the simplest front yard into a gallery of warmth and color. As evening deepens, the glow intensifies. A gentle procession of lights leads guests through winding paths. Children chase their shadows along the curve. Visitors pause and whisper, "How did they think of that?" And the answer, always, is simple, with heart, with hands, and with the belief that what was once waste can now be wonder. This edging isn't just practical. It's an embrace of the earth, of the discarded, and of the joy that comes when we create something beautiful from what others overlooked. There's something quietly enchanting about passing beneath an archway, as if stepping through a threshold into a dream. And in this tiny garden, nestled between cottage blooms and winding paths, the arch isn't carved from stone or wood, it's built from tire halves once destined for the scrapyard. Painted in colors that echo an English cottage sunrise, soft lavender, mint, buttercup yellow, each tire arcs gracefully overhead. Together, they form a bloom-covered tunnel, anchored in the soil and in imagination. But they don't just frame the view, they hold life. Inside every upturned curve of rubber, flowers spill forth. Marigolds burst in brilliant orange. Asters dangle in trailing elegance. Chrysanthemums nod as if blessing each visitor who walks beneath. And the vines, oh, the vines, they trail like whispers of green lace. The structure, strong yet playful, stands firm against wind and time. It welcomes the morning light and glows warmly at golden hour. Children run under it laughing. Guests pause for photos. Birds flutter through its blooms. It becomes the crown of the garden, not in height, but in heart. Each tire, once hardened by roads and time, now holds soft soil, gentle roots, and delicate blooms. It is a monument to reimagining, to turning the worn into wonder. Here, in this tiny backyard or narrow front path, the archway becomes more than a passage. It becomes a statement, a celebration, a gentle reminder that beauty is not in perfection, but in the courage to give something a second story. In every blooming tire lies a choice made not to throw away, but to uplift. And beneath this colorful arch, even the ordinary feels enchanted. In the heart of a small backyard garden, under the shade of a modest gazebo, something unexpected catches the eye, not a sculpture, not a canvas, but a wall of gears, blooming like mechanical flowers. Once part of roaring engines and speeding wheels, these gears have found a softer rhythm here. Removed from their machines, they are reborn with purpose and poetry. Painted in hues of copper blush, deep teal, and golden rust, each gear spins a story of renewal. Mounted like floral mandalas on rustic wooden panels, the wall of the gazebo becomes a living gallery. Some gears overlap like petals, others stand alone like suns. And as the daylight shifts, their metallic surfaces catch and play with the light, casting gentle shadows that dance on the blooms below. Around the base, chrysanthemums nod in approval. Asters reach upward toward the metal blossoms, their real petals echoing the iron shapes above. It's a juxtaposition, soft and hard, floral and industrial, yet here, it sings in harmony. Guests often pause. They lean in. These were gears, they ask, surprised at how something so mechanical now feels so deeply organic. And the answer is always in the details, the hand-brushed finishes, the thoughtful placements, the vines gently creeping around each bolt and spoke. It's not just decor. It's declaration. That every object, no matter how loud or lifeless in its past, can be brought into a garden and taught how to bloom again. This gazebo wall, once bare, now pulses with color and story. In small spaces where beauty must be intentional, it becomes a masterpiece of contrast, a place where trash turns not just into treasure, but into tribute. And when the wind moves just right, the chimes of metal touching metal make the garden whisper, nothing is ever truly thrown away, only waiting to become something more. At the edge of dusk, when the sky blushes with fading gold and the garden hushes into stillness, soft lights begin to rise, not from lamps or lanterns, but from towers of color rising gently from the earth. Bottle totems. Sculptures of light and memory. Formed from discarded glass bottles, once forgotten, once tossed, they now stand proud, like guardians of the garden path. Each one is unique. Some short, some tall. Some glowing softly in emerald, others burning bright in amber or cobalt. Like stained glass sentinels, they watch over the blooms. The bottles are threaded delicately onto rods, stacked with care, the glass catching light by day and releasing it by night. Inside, tiny solar caps bring them to life after sundown, casting an otherworldly glow across asters and marigolds that stretch nearby. They don't shout. They don't flicker like harsh bulbs. Instead, they hum with warmth, a slow, steady glow that comforts the quiet corners of the backyard or patio. Children call them garden ghosts, adults call them magic posts, but gardeners know the truth. They are stories. They are second chances. They are beauty born of broken things. Placed beside winding stone paths or tucked into flower beds, the bottle totems transform space. A simple garden walk becomes a candlelit procession. A forgotten patio corner turns into a dreamy retreat. And all with what others threw away. The plants don't mind their presence. Chrysanthemums nestle closer. Japanese anemones reach toward the glow. Even the bees return in early morning, as the glass catches dew like diamonds. In small spaces, every detail matters. These glowing towers become rhythm and punctuation. Night after night, they bloom without petals. They remind all who see them that the garden is not just for growing, it's for glowing. In the quiet corner of a tiny garden, just where the marigolds begin and the chrysanthemums lean, the sea has come ashore. Not in water or waves, but in color, shape, and reclaimed imagination. What once were tires, blackened and cracked, now stand as sculpture, a tribute to the coast. Painted in soft gradients of seafoam, sky blue, and gentle white, the rings rise like ocean swells, each one echoing a wave caught mid-crest. Tiny seashells line their base. Delicate driftwood curls like forgotten shipwrecks. Hand-painted coral motifs dance across the sides, and in between the curves, asters bloom as if they've always belonged to the sea. Here, far from any actual shoreline, the feeling of tide and breeze is captured in rubber and bloom. Children run their fingers across the shapes, tracing the painted fish and swirls. Guests take photos, charmed by the oddity. Tires, they ask, then smile, eyes wide. Because the transformation is not hidden, it is celebrated. The sculpture stands bold in contrast yet soft in spirit, nestled among fall perennials that feel at home beside it. Sedum autumn joy leans lazily against its base. Anemones peek from below, as if the ocean itself planted them there. By dusk, the colors deepen. As golden light kisses the tire edges, the sculpture glows with memory of long drives, open roads, and now, quiet reinvention. In gardens where space is limited, such corners become sanctuaries. Not every yard can host a fountain or grand statue, but this is soul-sized. It invites stories, sparks joy, and asks us all to see again, not just with eyes, but with heart. Because the garden isn't only for the living, it's for the transformed. And here, the sea rises not in waves, but in painted rubber and perennial bloom. In a breeze that barely ruffles the anemone petals, something playful turns, slowly, rhythmically, like a forgotten lullaby. A spinner, made from an old motorcycle wheel, now dressed as a garden flower, turns its face to the wind. It didn't begin with beauty. This wheel had once roared across roads, spun through grime and rain. But now? It's reborn in color. Painted in soft pastel hues, blush pink, mint green, sky blue, and adorned with handcrafted petal shapes, the wheel no longer races, it dances. Mounted on a slender rod, it sways gently above a bed of marigolds and chrysanthemums, turning as if to greet each flower in passing. Children adore it. They run toward it with laughter, eager to see it spin. Adults pause, drawn by the whimsy and the clever transformation. Neighbors peek over the fence, charmed by this curious bloom that's not a bloom at all. Around it, the garden thrives. Sedum stands like stone guardians. Anemones flutter below like delicate skirts. And the spinner, always moving, always catching light, becomes the heart of the tiny garden. It's kinetic poetry. A moment of motion in a space meant for pause. This flower doesn't wilt. It doesn't sleep. It greets the wind like an old friend and reminds every onlooker that beauty doesn't need to bloom from soil. Sometimes, it spins from steel. And perhaps most powerfully, it teaches us that even what seems worn or used up can still bring joy. That movement can be gentle. That the garden, no matter how small, can hold 1,000 surprises. In the soft golden hour, as petals and steel alike catch the day's last warmth, this bike-wheel flower spinner whispers a lesson. Whimsy has no rule book, and wonder grows where we let it. In the stillness of a garden shaped by calm and intention, something ancient meets something unexpected. Beneath a bamboo fence, beside a bed of anemones and gravel, stands a lantern, not of stone, but of steel. Its body once belonged to motion, gears from a motorbike, the shell of an exhaust pipe, the loop of a chain, all once loud, now silent. But in this garden, silence is gold. Each piece has been cleaned, reshaped, and repainted in muted tones of slate, bronze, and earthy black. Together, they echo the form of traditional Toro, Japanese lanterns meant not only to light paths but to guide the soul. Inside, a soft solar glow flickers gently as day fades. It is not harsh. It does not pierce the night. Instead, it bathes the flowers around it, the marigolds, sedum, chrysanthemums, in a warm, thoughtful hush. It's as if the sculpture remembers its past, but no longer needs to prove it. Here in the tiny yard, this lantern becomes more than decor. It's a punctuation mark in a poem written by flowers. It's a breath in a fast world. It's industrial turned sacred. Guests speak in quiet tones when they see it. Children are drawn to the glow, tracing fingers across the metal's cool surface. What is it made from, they ask. And the answer is always met with wonder. Because who would have thought that discarded motor parts could bring peace? This is the essence of garden artistry, not just making beauty, but finding it in the broken. In steel once used for speed, now repurposed for stillness. In trash that now invites meditation. In light reborn from rust. And when night fully falls, and all that's left is the hush of crickets and soft light through the leaves, these motor junk lanterns glow like memories, gentle, unexpected, and full of soul.